Hey guys, welcome back to the WODdoc Project365, episode 212. Today what we're talking about is the importance of radial head mobility and the functionality of the elbow. I took the liberty to start to draw some stuff out, some anatomy out, because I want to start to explain just a little bit so you guys have a better idea of what we're talking about in the first place. When we talk about the radial head, okay, we first have to understand that down in the bottom half, all right, of the arm bone, of the arm, there's two bones. On the bottom side here, okay, you have the ulna, okay? And on the thumb side here, so the pinky side you have the ulna, thumb side you have what's called the radius. Now these bones, they don't work exactly perfectly where they stay like this. They kind of twist just a little bit. This little knob right here becomes the top, all right, the base of the ulna, or the head of the ulna. This now becomes the distal portion of it. The radial head kind of comes up, or the radial bone kind of comes up like this and twists and kind of forms this where I have it already drawn out right here. This represents the end of my humerus. And I know that I'm there because it's the most prominent portion that's going to be in my elbow right there. If I was just to feel around on the outside of my elbow, the biggest bump that I feel is going to be that end of my my humeral bone, right? Or my arm bone. So all I want to do to find my radial head is I go onto that biggest bump and I just drag my finger towards my hands. And sooner or later, I'm going to bump down into a deep space. Where that deep space is, that's going to represent where that radial head starts, okay? Now, what does that have to do with anything? To understand this anatomy, we have to understand that the functionality of the elbow is pretty unique. We have two bones, right, that work as a hinge joint, okay, pretending that the arm bone is my fingers kind of. So they're kind of both attached to the humerus, right? And this top bone would end up being my radius, the bottom would be my ulna. When we flex the elbow, all right, they have some unique interactions because they have to slide a little bit, but they really just need to stay affixed. However, my hand doesn't just stay like this all the time, right? My palm needs to open and close. When that happens, these bones, they need to roll, right? They need to roll onto each other like that. And really what they do is they roll like this, right? So there's a lot of rotation that happens at the top up here by the elbow. So you can imagine if there was a decrease in that mobility and that decrease in that ability for it to rotate, that it's going to somehow mess up the functionality of the elbow. In my case, of course, because I had some trauma, it messes it up a lot. I have some, post-traumatic osteoarthritis and stuff like that goes on. However, I work on this constantly so that I can still put myself in the best possible position that I can. And when I don't work on it, I notice a huge decrease in my ability to get into that terminal flexion and what they call, where my palm is out, pronation, right? So here's how I'm going to mobilize that. If you guys didn't pay attention to anything I just said the first 2-3 minutes, pay attention to this part right here. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to find that anatomy of that little bony prominence, the biggest portion, the biggest bony prominence on the elbow. We're going to take this bar, okay? We're going to drop our elbow down underneath on it, all right? And you're going to feel it, and you see how that bar bumps over it. From right there, okay, all I'm going to do is let it fall into that hole we talked about a couple seconds ago. Once it does that, I can take up some tissue slack, okay, by twisting the bar. All I want to do, if I bring my thumb up, okay, I know that the radius is on the top end. It's the way the anatomy works. It stacks the bones up onto the top. So if my thumb is facing upwards, the radius bone is going to be the top bone, okay? So from right there, I can flex and extend my wrist, okay? I can roll my palm up and down. That whole time, I can use this to kind of like dig my way in there and slowly but surely get the pressure that I'm looking for. If I need to modulate it, make it a little bit lighter, I can lift up with my left hand in this case. If I need to make it a little bit harder, I can dig down in, I can press some pressure onto it. In any case, I really care that I'm opening and closing my hand. I want to spend about 2 to 4 minutes opening and closing my hand. Once I do that, I want you to retest that terminal flexion, that full flexed elbow position with that palm up, and I bet you're going to see a change. Guys, until tomorrow, we are optimizing function to optimize performance.